Hi, I'm Skip Reinke. I'm a member of C-Suite for Christ, and today is my God moment. I grew up in the country with my two sisters, my mom and my dad. My grandparents lived next door, and we all were ingrained in the getting the same moral compass, the same values. Work hard, study hard. You can do anything in your life. My sister Sharon, however, who's my oldest sister, got bit by a bug, and she got bit by the drinking bug. And it's the underlying theme for everything that's going to happen bad in this story that I'm going to tell you. When I was in my 20s, my sister Lori had a boy, and he's my nephew, obviously, and his name is Kyle, and he's still my best friend today, and we hang out, and he's a great kid. A couple years later, my sister Sharon had called and said, I'm pregnant. While I was happy, I had some bells go off in my head. I'm like, you're still drinking. I hope this is going to change because you can't drink when you have this child, or you're working towards having this child. And it didn't change. I got a phone call about the seventh month in, and my mom and dad said, we found out that your sister's been drinking during this whole pregnancy. We found out that she's been drinking a 12-pack of beer a day and about half a bottle of vodka a day. So a 12-pack of beer and a half a bottle of vodka per day while she's being pregnant. So they intervened. They put her into a rehab facility to try to get her to stop drinking, to hopefully, in some way, shape, or form, till the ninth month, get some health to the baby. And when Catherine was born, which was at little under 9 months, she was born at 1 pound, 13 ounces. She was less than a can of stewed tomatoes, one of the big cans. And I was shocked, and I was scared, and I was appalled. I was mad, I was angry. But I had my niece. They whisked her away in the ventilator, and they took her to the NICU unit right away. A couple days later, my parents called and they said, we should probably go up and see Catherine, which is her name. We should probably go up and see Catherine because she's probably not going to make it. And if you want to hold your niece, this is going to be your time. So I remember walking up to the NICU unit. I had to put on my gowns, I had to put on everything. And I had held this very, very small child who was 9 months. And she was probably maybe about this size, maybe a little less. And I just remember thinking to myself and looking at her face, I'm like, how did this happen to you? What did you do in order to have this happen to you? And so I held her for what seemed like days, and it was only a few minutes. And I said, I love you. I said my goodbyes to her because I really didn't think she was going to live anymore. And I left, and I remember just going into my car and I was sobbing. And it's very hard for me to even think about that moment right now. And I knew that was probably the last time. A couple days later, I got a phone call from my dad, and he had said, Catherine gained 2 ounces. And I had a prayer session with God that day that I went home. And I had said, God, there's two outcomes here. Either you're going to take her home and take her into your arms. You do that when the time is, that you know that your time is right. You take her and please hold her. Or if you're going to have her live, she's going to have a reason for it, and your will be done. So hearing that she gained 2 ounces was amazing. And then the next day it was a half an ounce. And then another day it was another ounce. And they kept feeding her, and she was doing more and more. And she kept gaining weight. Up until the point in time, about 3 weeks later, she was able to go home with her mom and her dad. So God took her into his hands, nursed her all the way through it, and then allowed her to go home. My thought in my brain was, wow, this is going to change my sister. She's going to become a mom. And at first she kind of did. She started to get involved with her a little bit more. She was very nurturing. She was very loving. But again, 1 step forward, 3 steps back. She started drinking again. And she was drinking more and drinking more. So the county was already involved because she had fetal alcohol syndrome. But then about 2 years after about a year and a half, 2 years later after she was born, actually about a year and a half, she called me one day at my office. She says, you're an uncle. And I said, well, I'm going to be an uncle again? When are you due? She said, no, I just had a baby. Now, I had seen her a couple months prior at a family event, and she really wasn't showing. And I thought, wow, either you're not telling us that you were having a baby, or you didn't even know. To this day, I don't even know. But Elizabeth was born, my other niece, and she was born a little bit heavier at 3 pounds, I believe 3 pounds, 8 ounces. Still had some issues, and she was rushed away for the NIC unit, but she got to go home a lot sooner. So now I got 2 nieces, and I have a sister who was drinking. My hope and my prayers at that point in time was, God, please let her become a mom. Let her focus on these kids. Let him have a life. I mean, Lizzie had fetal alcohol effects. And so you saw there was a change. You saw my sister started to get a little healthier. She stopped drinking. She was going to Alcoholics Anonymous. She was doing more stuff, getting involved in groups. She was changing. 5 steps forward, 10 steps back. She started drinking again. And then soon after that, the kids were getting a little older. My sister would have get-togethers with her, or I'd be over there, and some of the stories would come out. And some of these stories I couldn't believe that were true, but they were. One story, the girls were laughing one night. They said, "Oh, we had a really funny story last night. Mommy was running into the snow chasing her soda pop cans." Well, comes to find out they weren't soda pop cans. My brother-in-law at the time was getting just so ticked off about the fact she was drinking so much. She threw all of her beer in the soda and she was chasing it down and digging it out of the snow naked. Then there was a story, another one that came out. We said, what do you guys usually eat for dinner? What usually happens when you guys are eating? And they had a story where they said, if we can get to the food before the dog does, we get to eat. That one did it for me. That was it. So we had actually called the county, and they were involved even more and more now. And now they were doing spot checks, and they were going out and they were seeing her, and they were making sure that the kids were well taken care of. Now, my brother-in-law owned a business, and he was in a trucking company, and then he found out that he had cancer. He came down with prostate cancer. So now here's this man who's trying to run his business, plus make sure that his kids are okay, and he couldn't trust his wife because of her drinking problem. So he took those kids each and every day with him on a route, and they would drive around in his truck, deliveries, and then at the end of the day, if he had a long delivery at night, he'd bring them over to my house where I had already had 4 stepkids. And I said, yeah, bring them in. Bring her in. We'll feed them. We'll have fun with them. We'll play with them. Bring them in. And at that point in time, the county was really involved. They were doing visits. They were really actively involved in trying to keep the kids safe. And my brother-in-law died of prostate cancer. And it was a very traumatic time for the girls. And the county said, well, Sharon, you got 2 choices. You're either going to step up or we're going to take the kids from you. And I was contacted by the Waukesha County, and they said, we have to put the children in foster care. We believe that they're endangered. And I had asked, I said, so where are they going to go? I mean, what family's going to take them both? And she said, that's not going to happen. Very, very seldom. And she goes, it can happen, but at this point in time, we just need to get them into foster care, and some people don't take both of them together. Immediately in my head and immediately in my heart, I knew that I had to bring these kids in and foster them in my home. So we rushed to get us approved as a foster home. We rushed to get everything approved so they could come and live with us and we could foster them in hopes that we could try to get my sister well so she could take the kids back with them, because she was devastated. She lost her husband. Now she's going to lose her kids. There's 2 things that are going to happen. She's going to head down and barrel forward, or she's going to put her head in the sand and she's going to just crawl into a hole. Well, you can pretty much guess what happened. She crawled into the hole. And there was one day that there were visitations, and we had the girls, and they said they wanted to go out they were going to go have some pizza at some restaurant. And I said, that's fine. I said, well, just let me know what's going on. And then a couple hours later, I got a call from the person that she was partying with. Said, your sister is completely passed out. I can't wake her up, and we got these 2 girls here. You got to come get them. I was so angry. I can't even tell you how angry I was, but I knew that there it is, God in my head again saying, go get them. I'm their godfather, by the way. You got to go get them. So I went down and I got them, got the county involved, and they said, we came up with a plan that my wife at the time and I would adopt these kids. They'd become my children. So we made a move to terminate my sister's rights to her children, and that I was going to adopt them. And we did. And years later, I mean, my first wife and I were not married anymore, and I met my current wife, and we raised the girls, and we raised them pretty hard. As in my first wife, we raised them to think that they could do anything they wanted to. And it's been synonymous across the whole family. Aunts and uncles, everybody raised them that way. When there was outside forces that were still trying to tell them that they were special, they would be disabled. They'd never be able to hold a job. They'd never be able to do anything. We told them, no, work through it. Work hard, study hard. You have questions, ask. Make mistakes, learn from them. But be what you want to be. And I'm here to tell you today, and I'm very proud of it. And I can't take all the credit because this took a village. This took a lot of people to raise these children the way that they did, to raise them to the way it came out the way that they did. And right now, Catherine is very well respected and a very good daycare teacher. And Elizabeth is a senior at Stevens Point College, and she's about to graduate, whenever graduation is, in the field that she's going to love to work at for the rest of her life. I'm very proud of the fact of what these girls became. It wasn't from anything, maybe in part something that I did, but it was really because of God. God was involved with them from the minute that they were born to where they are today. And I'm super proud of it, and I thank God every single day that they're healthy, they're happy, and that they're moving forward. These kids arrived, they survived, and they thrived. And it's all because of God. So thank you for listening to my God moment today. I really appreciate it. Please stay safe, and God bless you all.